In this video, we're going to look at how to calculate sales for a month period of time in a restaurant. If you don't have any history, you're going to have to look ahead, consider how many customers are going to attend your business, and also what the average customer is going to spend. Then by multiplying these together, you can calculate what you think a customer will spend each, and therefore total those up for the month period. So in this case, if we're trying to create our budget, we're trying to calculate our food and our beverage sales for the month. In this case, we'll use June as the example. So once we can calculate the total sales for each food and beverage, that'll give us our total sales. From that, then we can estimate our individual expenses, our cost of goods, controllable expenses, fixed expenses, and come up with either a profit or a loss as a projection in our budget. So the first thing we want to do is make sure we have a menu and prices to consider using. So we're going to first do part one, and we're going to calculate our average check. So we're going to look at our menu. So here's our menu mix. We have a lunch menu. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 appetizers. Those are the prices of the individual appetizers on the menu. And when we add them up and take the average, it's $11.25. Main courses, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 main courses. So our customer's menu price is based here. And when we calculate the average, it comes out to $17.86. For desserts, there's 4 desserts. Again, we take our menu prices and take the average of the 4, and it comes to $7.93. For beverage, we have wine, premium wines, draft, bottled or domestic beer products. And when we take the average of a 1 serving, we come to our average of $9. So that's our first step. So then we take our average price for our appetizers. So we need that back again. And our average price for appetizers, we're doing the average lunch check right now, and we get $11.25. So then the next question is, of our customers that we get at lunch, so let's just say we have 100 customers at lunch, how many of our customers are going to pick an appetizer at lunch? The default value here is 0.75. So 3/4 or 75% of our customers we're predicting will choose an appetizer for lunch. Same thing for the entree. What are the entree prices? So the average entree price comes out to $17.86. So that goes here, $17.86. And our average dessert price, we'll look at that. Our average dessert price is $7.93 and $9 for our beverage. So that's $7.93 and $9 for our beverage price. So we'll have to change the ink on that. There we go. So now we're asking the question of our customers. Again, if we're choosing, expecting 100 guests, just to use that as a simple calculation, the default value is 7.75. So 75% of our customers we're thinking are going to pick an appetizer. Is that realistic? What do you think is going to happen based upon your business model and current trends? So I'm going to say that's really high. I think people are going to eat less at lunchtime. So I'm going to put that down to maybe 0.25 of our customers. So then we'll say, okay, so what's our average projected revenue? Total customers for appetizers? Well, it'll be calculation of this times the 25%. So our average would be 281. We do the same thing down here. Is everybody going to have an entree at lunch? Let's just say yes, everybody's picking one of our entrees. The calculation will be 1786 times the value of how many customers, and we get that. Dessert, we calculated our average price for our dessert selection at $7.93. How many people at lunch are going to take dessert? These days, I don't know. I don't think half of our customers will pick it. I'm going to say 35%. So 35 out of every 100 will choose a dessert. Same thing, we're going to calculate the average check times what we predict. And then we say, we look down at the bottom, and we have the average check calculated based on what we just did, 281, 1786, and 278. Our average check for the day per customer based on our menu and based upon what we think they're going to choose, the menu mix or their customer preference, we'll end up with a value of $23.45 or $23.45 as an average check. For beverage, our average price we calculated for the different selection of beverages at $9. At lunchtime, how many people are going to choose a beverage? For every 100 customers you have, how many are going to have a glass of wine or a draft beer or a bottled beer with lunch? I don't know. I don't know if 30% will. I think it's less than that. So let's say 20% of our customers are going to choose that. So then we're going to look at average beverage check of average cost is $9. And we think 20% of our customers are going to pick that. So our average beverage check for every customer that comes in, we think about $1.80 will be spent on average by our customers on beverage. So we've got that one done. So we'll do the same thing for average dinner check. So if we look back at the calculation that we've done, we've taken our menu, we've taken our dinner menu, looked at the entrees, and taken an average check here. So $13.18 for the average appetizer for our dinner calculation. So that's $13.18. Our average dinner check is $28.48. And our average dessert is $12.73. And our beverage price remains the same at $9. So now we're going to calculate our average checks. So our question here is, of the customers that come for dinner, how many are going to have an appetizer? Well, appetizer is very different than lunch. Lunch is quicker, more casual, not as heavy meals. People have to go back to work perhaps or carry on with their day. Dinner, more different pace, different reasons for being out, longer meal period. So I don't know, I think maybe 3/4 of our customers are going to have an appetizer, or maybe even still that's a little bit much these days. So I think 65% of our customers are going to choose an appetizer with their meal. So we have our average price, we multiply it by 0.65. So $8.57, and then our main courses, our entrees, we calculated at $28.48, and we think everybody at dinner is going to have an entree. So we're going to do 20, and you would adjust this. Maybe you think that some of your customers will not have dinner, and this should be not 100%, but maybe 90%, because some people are going to choose 2 appetizers, for example. So maybe your appetizer volume would be higher. So you would adjust these numbers based on what your business model is, or your prediction of what your guests will do. Desserts. Not many people at lunch often eat desserts, in my experience now. Dinner, I think half of them will eat dessert. So my prediction here is based upon our average price multiplied by, I think half of our customers are going to choose dessert. So we have that. And then for beverage, our beverage cost, our average is $9. And I predict 80% of our customers are going to have 1 drink. Some will have none, some will have 2. But on average, I'm going to say 80% of our customers are going to have a drink. Is that high? Maybe. So let's maybe make it 75. So then our average beverage cost is $9, 3/4 of our customers, and we get $6.75. So now we look at the totals. So $8.57, $28.48, and $6.37. We're predicting our average dinner check based on our menu, our prices, and what we think our customers will choose as far as volume comes to $43.41, and our average beverage check is $6.75. So we've got the start of it. We've got part 1 done. So now for part 2, we're looking at the calendar. So we're looking at, for this, we'll use June as this example. So for this month of June, these are the days of the week. This is just a calendar. June 1st to June 30th. So what was our average check? So we're doing the lunch one. So our average check for lunch was $23.45. So we're going to put $23.45 in here. So there's our average check at lunch that we calculated previously. So now we're going to look at how many guests per day. So you look at the calendar. It's a Thursday. How busy are we going to be if we have, let's just say we have a 100-seat restaurant. Based on your business model, you use the number that's appropriate. And of our 100 seats at lunch, how many guests would we serve? So lunch service is different than dinner. You do fewer turns often at lunch than dinner. Lunch period is narrower, a little bit before noon, 11:45 until about 1:30, and then lunch service is over. Whereas in a dinner setting, dinner could begin at as early as 5:30 and carry on until 8:30 or 9 even. So you have a longer window. You could turn tables perhaps more at dinner. But regardless, you have to estimate based on your menu, based on your business model, how many seats you have, how many guests you think you'll serve per meal period per day. And this is for lunch on Thursday the 1st. So I don't know. I'm gonna predict we're going to do 55 customers on a Thursday. Friday, we're going to be busier. We're going to do of our 100 seats, we're going to do 80 perhaps. This is lunch. Saturday will be busier. You know, we're in a shopping district, so maybe we're going to almost fill. Sunday, again, it's a weekend. We have a good time. Lots of people out. Monday, we're closed. So we can go ahead and put every Monday in as a 0 because we are closed on Mondays. So there's no revenue coming in. Then we're going to think the following week. Are we going to be keeping with that 55 model? Maybe it's maybe Wednesday's hump day. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe we have a promotion going. Maybe we do a little better at lunch on Wednesdays, typically. So maybe we'll go ahead and say, you know, Wednesdays are actually in midweek are not that bad because we have this promotion, this Wednesday hump day celebration or excuse for people to come out. Thursdays, we're back to, again, maybe 55 covers. Friday, the volume is starting to pick up. We're going to do 80 this week. And you're looking at the calendar, you could be looking at weather predictions if it was short term, if this was for next month, but longer term, if this is for a month for next year, a year from now, you're going to have to make some educated calculations or estimations here. So Saturday, we're going to go back up to 95 perhaps. Sunday, again, another strong day for us. Monday, we're closed. And then we're back to a Tuesday where we're a little softer. Wednesday picks up. Then we do a Thursday and then a Friday. And we're back up, we think, to 80s. Again, we're looking at the calendar, trying to figure out where we're at. So we're just doing the best we can. We're not just making these numbers up. We're using our background, our skill, and our experience to help us determine what we think the sales volume will be, the number of clients we're going to have based on the calendar. And again, the season of the year. There's many factors that affect this. So you're going to have to determine them and calculate your volume to the best of your ability. So now we're getting near to the end of the week, coming up to the weekend celebration, or the week before our busy holiday week. And business is starting to pick up now. So now this is the Thursday, Friday of the long weekend coming, the July 1st, July 4th weekend. So we're going to be maxed out. Maybe on Thursday, we're going to do really well. And maybe on this Friday, because it's the long weekend, the Friday of the long weekend, we expect lunch that day to be really, really quite busy. We're going to do more than capacity, more than 100 seats. So perhaps we're going to do 130 that day just because of the volume. So when we add this up, the calculation is in here already for every day of the week for the month added up and multiplied by our average check. So our volume, our sales for the month is predicted right now at 49,000 based upon this prediction. So we've looked at the day of the week, whether we're open or not, typical sales volume for that day, factors that might affect us like holidays, things like that. So the average check is the value in here is this value, and we're going to make it absolute so that we don't have to keep changing it. So we've got that. So now the value is 23.45, and we're going to put that average check right across here because it's the same for each one. And then our daily lunch calculation, if we want to know how much our sales are per day, it would be how many customers we have multiplied by the daily check, the average check, and that's our dollar amount per that one day. We can maybe make it smaller. So we could do that same thing and extend it across. So now we have the guests per day multiplied by our average check of 23.45. So you could say, well, why don't we just use this absolute value? And well, I'm suggesting to you that perhaps your average check is different. So this value in here might not be the average check every day. Maybe that's the average check on a typical day. But on busier days, like here near the holidays, people spend more. There's a longer lunch period. Or maybe Wednesday, your hump day, you predict it to be a little bit busier because of some promotion you're doing. And maybe that day, typically people spend more. Maybe more people that day have an appetizer. So this allows you the freedom to say your average check over the month is this much, but people on certain days will spend more, or maybe Monday is less. It's up to you to figure that out. Or maybe the beginning of the month, people are, maybe pulling back a little bit. So it's up to you to determine the appropriate average check. If you use the average for every day of the month, you could do that. It's certainly simpler, But in reality, probably average check might, there might be some variation. So maybe you want to do 2 calculations, an average and a high, or maybe 3 calculations, an average, that one, a higher one on those busy days or the Fridays, the days we think people will spend more, and a lower one on the days when people are just more in work mode and spending less, say on the Mondays and Tuesdays. So that's up to you to decide. But once you put your average check in here and you multiply these two together, you get that product. And then if you extend those all across, you get the total. So the total of this, if you use the same average check, will be exactly the same as this, because this is the total of how many sales customers you did multiplied by this average check. If you are changing the average check, and as we were just saying, depending on the day of the week, then you're going to have to modify this value. This value is multiplying the total number of guests by the same average check. So it'll be up to you to do that. We've calculated our average beverage check. We did that previously in step 1, and it's $1.80. So we're going to go to our monthly flow, and we're looking at our average check of $1.80, and we're going to use the same amount, same value. The average is the same for the whole month. So we're going to use $1.80 for every day. Question is, how much does that total? So we're going to say that we have 55 customers predicted. We did that in the previous step, and we're going to multiply by the $1.80 average, and we end up with $99. So on this day with 55 customers, based on what we predict the number of customers to buy a beverage, and based upon our average beverage price, we're going to end up with $99. So then if we copy that cell over, again, we end up with 80 customers times our $1.80. So we can take that and extend it over again. And now we have 95 customers was what we predicted times our $1.80. We end up with 171. So we can do that all the way across. And we end up with our daily beverage sales. Add them all up. If you want to double check it, you can take the total, the sum of all those number of customers per day. So how many customers for the whole month did we have? Multiply by $1.80, and we get the result of 3,798. So you'd go through the same steps for the dinner sales. You would look at your average dinner check, going back to part 1 for dinner. Our average check is $43.41. So we go back here and put in $43.41. And then we're going to look at the calendar and how many guests per day. So we're going to go through the same process, look at the calendar, look at our business model, look at how we promote or what our expectations are. And we're going to go across for our dinner service for the same restaurant. How many, and based on 100 seats, how many customers are going to have. Now, if you have a patio in the evenings and you extend your seating capacity, then you would take that into account. So any variables like that, you're going to take into account. So let's just say on a Thursday, we think we're going to do pretty good. Friday, we're going to go capacity and maybe even a bit more. So our hope is we're going to go capacity. Saturday, we think we're going to do a little bit better. Sunday, on average, we do, full capacity. And then Mondays, we're closed. And then Tuesday, again, we're back to sort of lower numbers. We do 80s and 85s on Wednesday. We start to get our volume back, and we're going to do 100 here. So you have to look at your business plan and the calendar and calculate what you think is going to happen. The caution, of course, is not to overestimate. And that's typically what we do, is we a little too optimistic sometimes on the number of customers that we're going to have. But we want to be careful. So you're going to look at the calendar and you're going to try to estimate based on what your prediction will be on what you're going to end up with customers. So we're putting these numbers in, not just random numbers. We've actually thought about it and we've considered what we think our volume of customers is actually going to bring in. For June, so this is the long weekend. Now people are going to start to celebrate and numbers are going to start to increase, and we're going to definitely have our patio, and maybe we're going to do something special, and our numbers are ramping up here. So now we're taking the total of all of our days of the week, and multiplying it by our average check, 43.41, and we end up for this month of June of $120,000, just slightly over $120,000 in sales. So the dinner check we know is, in this case, we're going to use the same value of 43.41. We're going to do our F4 here to make sure we make that absolute. So should it be a different average check every day, subject to the days of the week? People eat more or less on certain days versus other days. Yeah, you could change that average check. In this example, we're going to use 43.41 all the way across. So we're going to copy that across. We end up with a dollar value for each day. And then this number, this total will match this total here. And we do the same thing for the beverage check as we did previously. Our beverage check at dinner, slightly different. It's at $6.75. So we'll go here and our beverage check is $6.75 now. And the same thing, you're going to multiply 95 customers, $6.75, and you're going to get this value. So we had 95 customers come in, and our average check we calculated $6.75, and that's our beverage sales for this day, $641.30. And again, you'll total those all up. So once you have these totals, you then go to the budget form. So now we know that what our total sales for food is for lunch and dinner, because we've calculated total lunch sales here, 49,000, total dinner sales of 120,000. So we can add those together and put that number in here. That's the total sales when we calculated the number of customers, what the average amount they're spending, the average check. We add that all up per day. We end up with that 42,000 total. We did the same thing for dinner, 120,000. We add those together and we end up with our total here. Beverage, the same thing. We'll look at our total beverage. So for lunch, it was less people drinking at lunch and fewer customers. So 3,798 for beverage sales for lunch. And then you would calculate your beverage sales for dinner. You would add those together and you would put that number in here. And then when you added these two together, you'd get the third number, which would be your total food and beverage sales for this month combined. From that number now, you can start calculating your individual cost of goods and individual cost, fixed controllable expenses, non-controllable expenses, and end up with to determining whether this business model, the way you've got it set up for this month, will be profitable or not.